Well, again, it's all about Kevin. Instead of focusing on this deal, like you said, instead of focusing on the Prime Minister and the relationship he's rebuilding with the Trump administration, we're all talking about Kevin. And surely that is not good for either the Albanese government or for the country. So I'm surprised for the good of the government, he isn't stepping down. Surely he knows his position there is an issue. Now, let's talk about local issues. Here in Victoria, there's been some polling done by the Institute of Public Affairs, and it shows only 37% of Victorians support the Allan Labor government's Indigenous treaty. 42% say they oppose it, and we've got 21% who are still undecided. Lisa, the fact that you've got 21% undecided, I think, is an indictment on the media, but even more so, it's an indictment on the Liberal Party, who have not leaned into this issue. It is an enormous issue. The scope of this legislation is huge, and yet the Libs seem to be running scared.
Yeah, I was surprised. It was last month when this was first announced, and on that night I watched both the opposition leader and the Aboriginal Affairs spokesperson for the Liberal Party here on Sky, and neither of them, when their feet were held to the fire, could come out hard and say they were against this treaty, that they could come out and say this is what the Liberal Party will do. And I think that is what they're lacking across many different policy areas in Victoria. They're not offering up an opposition at all. And now, nearly 5-6 weeks later, they finally come out and said, well, it's not that we'll repeal the treaty, but we will then put in our own advisory body or advisory council or whatever nice word they put around it. So they're not saying, no, we are not going to divide and be divisive in Victoria. They're saying they're still going to kowtow down and push ahead with some sort of Indigenous group, when you've got, 58%, I think, or 55% of Victorians said no to the voice. So I'm not surprised by those figures.
Yep, Victorians didn't vote for a state-based voice or a state-based treaty, Louise, but we've got one. It's going to be enormously costly, but even more importantly than that, it's going to be enormously divisive, and the powers it has, the influence it will have, again, Victorians didn't vote for that, and we need the Liberals to actually give people a choice. We need them to stand up and fight these consequential issues.
Yes, we do. You're absolutely right. And the figure being bandied around is, what, $70 million? And what is that for? To create another bureaucracy, which we clearly don't need. And moreover, Jacinta Allan needs to focus on one thing in Victoria: law and order. That's the only thing people are talking about, and the only thing residents are really concerned about. They don't want a treaty. They don't want any sort of legislation which is sort of dressed up as a Voice 2.0. And they don't feel that, even Aboriginal Australians don't feel this is a good plan for Victoria. So why she's pushing ahead with it blindly is an absolute mystery to me, when there are so many critical things she could be focused on.